Good afternoon, gardeners. It's Thursday, March 4th, and it is a beautiful day here on the southeastern coast of North Carolina. And today I want to give you one tip that will get you tomatoes up to 2 months earlier than they would under normal harvesting conditions. It's been a pretty rough winter in most areas of the United States, and there's been no exception here on the southeastern coast. And if you're like me, you are burning and ready for springtime to be here. And today we're being teased with this gorgeous 70-degree day, and I'm guessing no matter where you're at, you've probably had a few nice spring-like days peppered in throughout the winter as well that's really getting you going for spring. However, it is a trick. As gorgeous as today is right now, I have at least 3 chances of getting a freeze throughout this week. So although we're having a really nice day right now, winter is still here and we can't plant anything in our gardens just yet. Now here where I live, my last frost date averages in the end of March. So probably at some point within the next 3 to 5 weeks, depending on how things shake out for me, I will be able to plant my tender crops like my tomatoes and peppers in my garden. Now in that greenhouse behind me, I have a really nice selection of early, mid, and later season varieties of tomatoes. And generally speaking, earlier season tomatoes will mature anywhere from 55 to 60 days after transplant. Mid-season tomatoes are usually about 70 to 75 days maturity after transplant, and later season tomatoes are usually about 90 days maturity after transplant. So if you assume that I get everything in the ground by the very end of March, beginning of April, I'm looking at best case scenario being able to harvest my very first tomatoes sometime at the very end of May if I'm lucky, maybe early June, with some of the later season varieties not being ready until the end of June. And that's still a pretty far ways away before I can get fresh tomatoes into my kitchen, and I love them so much. It's one of my favorite times of the year. So I've come up with a trick that I've used with great success over the years, which can get me tomatoes as early as April. Now last year I used this exact same method that I'm about to share with you now, and I documented it after the fact, after I got amazing early yields of tomatoes. And I will make sure to link to that video above so you can be aware as to what the results of your hard work and early jump start can be. However, this year I want to get a jump start on it, and I want to show you the beginning stages. So if you're in a location with a late frost date, you can get a big jump now and use this technique to your advantage. And this technique is very simple. All you're going to do is you are going to begin an early couple of seedlings for an early maturing dwarf or determinate variety of tomato. And in my research, I tried 4 different varieties last year. And the best variety that I found for doing this experiment is the Siletz variety of tomato. And Siletz was bred by, I believe, someone from the University of Oregon back in the 1990s, and it's a parthenocarpic tomato, meaning it has the ability to set fruit without pollination, and it can do so in very cool temperatures. While a frost or freeze will kill this tomato variety just like any other, it will set fruits when the temperatures are in the upper 30s or lower 40s Fahrenheit. So I got really strong yields with this tomato setting in cool, inclement weather. The other nice thing about this is it has amazing flavor, and while I did trial 4 varieties last year that also set in cool conditions, the flavor wasn't that good on 2 of them. This one had the best flavor, and because it's a determinate, it's only going to grow to be about 2 to 3 feet tall. And as such, you can grow it in one of these little number 7 grow bags, which I have linked in my Amazon storefront. So it's very simple. All I did was I started this tomato seedling, I started the seed around Christmas time, and then it was up and starting to grow in very early January, and I had this transplanted in the beginning of February. And now it's a pretty nice sized plant, and it's already flowering and setting fruit. So because I have fruit set already in the end of February, beginning of March, so believe it or not, I will be harvesting fruits off of this tomato by the end of April instead of waiting for the beginning of June, which my seedlings inside my greenhouse are more likely going to give me fruit by. So I'm likely going to get a 6-week jump start on my season by performing this. So right there you can see tomatoes have already set on my plant. This one tomato is already the size of a dime, and I'm anticipating being able to harvest this tomato at some point within the next 4 to 6 weeks. And there is really nothing more to this method than that. All you're doing is you're going to plant a couple of tomato seeds very early, unnaturally early, at least 2 months earlier than you normally would start them. You're going to plant them in this little number 7 grow bag, because you're going to choose a very small determinate variety or dwarf variety, and then you're just going to bring it outside during the day on nice days like this when it's well above freezing. And then if you're going to get a freeze at night, all you have to do is just take your potted plant, which only weighs a couple of pounds, bring it inside, and then when you wake up in the morning and it's back above freezing, carry it back outside. And that's really all that there is to it. And I actually like bringing my tomatoes and bringing them up against the house, because the house acts as a very nice windbreak in the wintertime. The south side of your house is generally the warmest, sunniest side. And if you don't want to get your carpet dirty inside, all you have to do is bring them into your garage. And it's the same principle. And if this sounds like a lot of work to you, don't worry, it's not. Because remember, you are not going to be growing an entire crop of tomatoes here. And all you really need is one plant. Because when you pick a variety like Siletz, which is a very prolific determinate, it will set so many fruits for you so quickly, all at the same time, you will be able to bridge a gap off of this one plant for quite some time. And remember, all we're trying to do here is get a 6 to 8 week head start on the growing season. If you live in some place like Minnesota, you don't want to time your planting of the seeds so your tomato plants are flowering in February. It would still be far too cold to carry your plants outside in the day in February in that kind of climate. All we want to do is we want to time this so we're 6 to 8 weeks ahead of when we normally are, because generally once we are 6 to 8 weeks away from our last frost date, the frosts and freezes at night are becoming less frequent, and in the day, most days, we are breaking above freezing every single day. So it is safe enough to carry our tomato transplants outside and expose them to true sunlight. And if you have something like a pop-up greenhouse, that will make things even easier, because you'll be able to add extra external heat. And that's really all there is to it. I want to keep this video short and sweet. It's just an easy tip for you to follow in order for you to extend your growing season and get some early tomatoes. So if you found it helpful, please make sure to hit that like button. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe for future updates and more videos like these. If you're curious about any of the products that I use in my garden, they are all linked in my Amazon storefront in the video description. Thank you all again so much for watching, and I hope to see each and every one of you again on the next video. I'm trying to get some work done, but somebody won't leave me alone. Dale, are you hungry? Is that your way of saying you're hungry? Dale, you're making a scene. Do you want breakfast? You're hungry? Okay. All right. We'll give you breakfast.